Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cruz and Tiffany Rumble.
In this video, we're going to be covering the latest balance update in Crash Team Rumble.
This week, Crash Team Rumble received its second balance update since the game was released, introducing a total of 7 changes to the game. Some of these changes are relatively minor, while some are definitely more significant, so this balance update is sure to shake things up in the game moving forward.
A statement listing all of the changes this new update introduces can be found in the blog section of the Toys for Bob website. So if you want to see the full blog post, we'll be including the link in the description and comment section of this video.
In the words of Max C. from Toys for Bob, "Hi everyone. As always, we've been keeping a close eye on all the feedback you've been giving us as well as on the data we're collecting from matches. We've taken some time to review all this and are back with another balance update we'd like to share with you. So let's get to the 7 changes introduced by this update.
The first update is to the scorer power charge rate. In matches, scorers can be shut out from getting to their bank if they're facing really good blockers, making it hard for them to get access to their powers. So from now on, scorers will receive a 33% increase to the charge for their power every time they break a crate.
For those that don't know, your character's power charges faster for successfully completing tasks that are specific to that character's role. So for example, a scorer character's power charges faster by collecting Wampa and scoring, while a blocker's power charges faster by knocking enemy Wampa away. While all this sounds good in theory, this can create a bit of an unbalanced dynamic where blockers are able to charge up their powers super fast by camping at the enemy team's bank, while scorers are left at a disadvantage as they are unable to get past these blockers' seemingly never-ending supply of power-ups.
Personally, I would say this is a good change as it brings some much-needed balance to the game by providing scorers with a greater opportunity to fight back against blockers by increasing the rate at which they can generate powers of their own.
Next we have update number 2, blocker and booster power charge rate. On a related note, we think blockers and boosters are using their powers too often. Because of this, we are reducing the amount of power charge that boosters and blockers receive when KOing an opponent or knocking away Wampa by 33%.
Similar to the first update, this change aims to balance the scales between scorers and the other classes by decreasing the rate at which booster and blocker powers are charged. Again, I do think that this makes sense, as I would imagine most players have had the experience of being totally iced out of their bank or a gem pad by a savvy Dingodile player that seems to have access to an infinite supply of healing fridges or flytrap spitters.
Of course, only time will tell if the combination of these changes will successfully balance the scales, or if it will cause the pendulum to swing too far the other way, with scorers becoming overpowered and leaving blockers and boosters at a disadvantage. So we'll be paying close attention to how these changes affect the game moving forward.
Next up, we have update number 3, bank bombardments and plasma turrets. These stations are underutilized, so now they'll cost fewer relics to activate.
This one is pretty straightforward, and is definitely one of the more minor changes in this update. The bank bombardments on Tiki Towers and the plasma turrets on Cityscape will now cost a total of 6 relics to unlock instead of the previous requirement of 8.
So while this is not the most significant change introduced in this update, it definitely makes a difference by making these relic stations notably easier to unlock, and it will be interesting to see if the use of these stations become more prevalent as a result of this change.
For update number 4, we have an upgrade to the Wampa Bat relic station on the map Bogged Down. The bat's been hitting the gym recently, and now he can carry more Wampa than he used to, raising the starting value of the Wampa Bat from 1,000 Wampa to 1,500 Wampa.
So I would say this change definitely makes a significant difference when playing on the map Bogged Down. The Wampa Bat is the epic relic station for this map, costing a total of 30 relics to activate. Up to this point, I would say it was not uncommon for the Wampa Bat to be completely destroyed before he managed to drop off his load, resulting in 0 extra Wampa being delivered. So I think this extra 500 Wampa is a smart change, because it really sucked spending all that time and effort collecting and delivering 30 relics just to have the opposing team swarm your bat and end up getting nothing for having unlocked the major relic station.
Even here, for example, our team successfully activated the Wampa Bat, which is ultimately only able to deliver about 280 Wampa, which isn't much, but without the increase from this update, it would have been destroyed completely, delivering 0 Wampa. So I would definitely count this change as a notable improvement.
Next up, we have update number 5 for Hero Tawna Bandicoot. According to our data, Tawna isn't doing as much damage as other heroes, so we're increasing her overall damage output by 12.5%.
So this just might be the most significant change to come out of this balance update. While Tawna hasn't necessarily been the most lethal character up to this point, I never found myself feeling that she was weak by any means, and I've definitely come across some serious Tawna players who are super consistent in executing her pillar combo, where she pops you up in the air with an uppercut and then spikes you back down with an overhead smash, making her a serious threat on the battlefield.
So with the combination of this 12.5% damage increase, along with the significantly faster charge rate on powers for scorers, I would not be surprised if we start seeing more Tawna players doing some serious damage as a result of this buff.
Next, we have update number 6 for Dr. N. Tropy. Previous changes to Tropy have brought her more in line with the other heroes, but she still gets knocked out less frequently than other blockers. As a result, we are reducing her health by another pip.
So this change is a little surprising considering they've already had to nerf Tropy once so far, and it's interesting that they decided to decrease her health as opposed to changing something else like decreasing the power of her melee attacks. Don't get me wrong, I think we've all been on the losing side of an Entropy player who was just playing out of their mind, but it will be interesting to see how this decrease in health combined with the decrease in power generation affects Entropy's viability moving forward.
As far as the health decrease goes, this description leaves it a little unclear what a pip is, but you can see here in the hero menu for Tropy, before the update, her health was around the 3/4 mark, while now, after the update, it's just past the halfway mark. Either way, we can confirm that since the update was released, Tropy's health drops noticeably faster during combat.
And lastly, we have the 7th and final change made to this balance update, Embryo's Mastery Badge. Brio's Mastery Badge is too hard. We're changing it so that you can earn the badge just by KOing one player on the bank while in brute form.
So this change is probably the least significant introduced by this update, as far as how it affects the overall gameplay experience. But with that being said, I am glad that they made this change. I enjoy playing as Embryo, and I've definitely had a hard time earning this Mastery Badge in the past, so it is nice for them to make it easier to achieve by changing the requirement to getting 1 KO on the enemy bank instead of 2.
Of course, I'd imagine some Embryo players might be a bit disappointed to see that this is the only change made to this hero, as he does have some significant drawbacks, with some players arguing that he is currently the weakest character in the game's roster.
So for anyone who felt Embryo deserved a better buff than this, you may be glad to hear that Max does address this in his closing statement of the Balance Update blog post, and I quote, "That's all for the moment, but if you're a Brio fan who is hoping for some gameplay changes, don't despair. Season 2 will include many changes and quality of life improvements for many relic stations and heroes, Brio included. Thanks for playing our game, and we'll talk to you again soon." So it is nice for them to acknowledge that they're aware that many players feel that Embryo is in need of some improvements, and obviously they've already got ideas in mind for him coming up in Season 2. Some improvements I'd like to see for Embryo in the future could be making his transformation last 1 or 2 seconds longer, or maybe giving his slime monster projectiles a little larger of a blast radius upon impact, just something to make him more viable in comparison to the rest of the cast.
So that's pretty much it for this video. Those are the 7 changes introduced to Crash Team Rumble by the new balance update. We're very interested to see how these changes affect the game moving forward, and we'd love to hear what you all think about these changes, or any other changes you'd like to see in the future, so please leave us a comment with your thoughts down below.
We'll be releasing a video soon going over the launch of Zap Trap 2 and whatever rewards and unlockables come along with it. So if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe and check back later for all the latest news and updates in Crash Team Rumble. Until next time, folks,
Keep on rumbling.